Hello class and welcome back to day 4 of our digital learning week 1. So thanks to everybody who signed in yesterday and completed our quiz. If you haven't yet, please go do that. And if you did complete it and you didn't receive an 80%, it's unlimited attempts, y'all. You better get back on there and get that quiz completed, all right? But moving forward today, and we're still looking at two-way tables, but we're going to look at joint relative frequencies, marginal relative frequencies, and conditional relative frequencies. So in short, we're going to be looking at relative frequencies today. So let's get started. I've put a little table here to remind us that joint frequencies are in the body and marginal frequencies are along the edges. Just like on a piece of paper, the margins are the edges. In a table, our marginal frequencies are our subtotals along the edges. All right, so let's remember that going in today because that's going to be important to apply that knowledge to today's lesson. So the first type of relative frequency we're going to talk about is a joint relative frequency. Now that word joint here is extra important, okay? Why, you might say? Because a joint relative frequency is a joint frequency over the total. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, joint relative frequency is a ratio. Ratio is another word for fraction. So a joint relative frequency is a fraction between a particular category and the total number of data values. All right, so where can we find the total number of data values on our table? Yes, we find the total number of data values in the bottom right corner. So we know that all of our joint relative frequencies, every single one of them, will be over 240 for this table. So I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to take our joint frequency of 21 and put it over 240. So 21 over 240. That right there is an example of a joint relative frequency. So if we do 21 divided by 240, we get 0.0875. Now, as we said yesterday, frequencies are just another word for percentages. So if we move our decimal over 2, we get the percentage of 8.75. So sometimes in these tables, guys, you will actually see these percentages instead of your raw data number. So instead of a 21, you may see 8.75 there. And that's just telling you that just like 21 out of the 240 people surveyed were men that liked SUVs, 8.75% of the total people surveyed were men that liked SUVs. They're the same thing, okay? So our next joint relative frequency, we would do 39 over 240, and that would represent the total number of men that liked sports cars that participated in the survey. All right, so let's go ahead and put all of our joint frequencies over 240, and let's create percentages for every single one of our joint frequencies in the body of our table. So I'm going to do that, and you do that on your own as well. Remember, all we do is divide them by our total. So 135 divided by 240. It's 56.25%, right? And etc. Once you finish this, I want you to add up all 4 of them. And tell me what you get. You should get 100%. Right? Just like if you were to add up 21, 39, 45, and 135, you would get 240. They're all parts of the whole. 240 is the whole. All right, guys, so next we have marginal relative frequencies. All right, and just like joint relative frequencies, marginal relative frequencies tell us a lot just with the first word in the name. The marginal relative frequencies. These are going to be a margin over the total. Okay? So if we remember, our marginal frequencies are in the edges, right? So the 60 and the 180 and the 156 and the 84. So an example of a marginal frequency would be 60 over 240. And that would be the marginal frequency of men that participated in the survey. So 60 of the 240 total people in the survey were men, or 25% of the survey participants were men. You may also see percentages in the margins, guys, just like we just looked at with the joints. Same thing, 180 divided by 240 will give you 75%. So just like all of our joint relative frequencies added together equal to 100, our marginal relative frequencies will also add together to equal 100. So let's move on to the practice. Here we have Sam and Trevor working at Best Buy. They decided to have a competition to see who could sell the most televisions in a week. The data for their contest is displayed in the two-way frequency table below. Let's answer the questions. So guys, I've gone ahead and filled out the margins on this table, right? And remember, we just find them by 4 plus 13 plus 9 plus 12 plus 4 is 42. 4 plus 10 is 14. So we add together our rows and columns to find those marginal totals. And then we add up our margins to find our grand total. 42 plus 41 is 83, or 14 plus 20 plus 19 plus 18 plus 12 equals 83. So these first two questions will be a little bit of review. So it just wants to know what's the marginal frequency on Monday. So go to Monday, go down to its margin. So 14 total TVs were sold on Monday. So our marginal frequency for TVs sold on Monday is 14. What is the marginal frequency for Thursday? We'll do the same thing. We'll go to Thursday, go down to our margin. Turns out that 18 TV sets were sold on Thursday. So our marginal frequency for Thursday is 18. Next question says, how many of the total TVs did Sam sell on Monday? All right. So, how many of the total TVs sold? So, how many total TVs were sold? Well, 83 total TVs were sold. Right? How many TVs did Sam sell on Monday? So, go to Sam, Monday. Those two boxes meet here. So, Sam sold 4 TVs on Monday. So, 4 TVs out of the total 83 would give us 4.82% of all the TVs sold were sold by Sam on Monday. All right? So is that an example of a marginal or a joint frequency, guys? Well, let's see. 4 over 83. 83 is our grand total, so it's something over our total. Now, was it a margin over our total, or was it a joint over our total? Because that'll determine whether it's a joint or a marginal relative frequency. So let's look. 4. 4 is within our joint frequencies. It's within the body of our table. So we have a joint frequency over the total, meaning that we have a joint relative frequency. Okay, so had that have been a margin over the total, it would have been a marginal relative frequency. The last type of relative frequency that we're going to talk about today are conditional relative frequencies, okay? So conditional relative frequencies are mostly used to find conditional probabilities, all right? To find conditional relative frequencies, oops, spelled that wrong. To find conditional relative frequencies, we divide or create a ratio between a joint frequency and a marginal frequency. All right? So joint over margin. Notice that the grand total is no longer involved in this ratio. For conditional relative frequencies, we no longer need that grand total. Okay? So let's look at an example here. To find the conditional relative frequency that a student surveyed prefers cats given that the student is a girl. So guys, it gives us a condition. Whenever you see the word given, it's usually followed by a condition. So, given that the student is a girl, that gives us our new total or our new denominator. There are 16 girls. So given that the student's a girl means that I can only look at something out of 16. 16 is our new total. It's our new denominator. So how many of those 16 girls preferred cats? 7. 7 girls preferred cats. So 7 over 16 is 43.75%. All right? So guys, whenever we identify what the condition is and which margin we're going to use for our new denominator, we're only going to use that margin's row or column. So because it told us that it was out of just the girls, we're only using the girls row, right? So we were only either going to use the 8, the 7, or the 1 over the 16. It wouldn't be anything else. Likewise, had the condition been that they chose other, we would only look at this column, all right? So let's go look at a couple examples so you can see exactly what I mean. All right, so the following table displays data about after-school activities at a local middle school. Use the table to complete the practice problems. So it says out of all those who play sports, right? So that's our new condition. Definitely a condition. We're only looking at those who play sports. So what total is that? Play sports, go down, 15. So we know that our condition is that they play sports. So our total will be out of the total that plays sports. That's the subtotal we're going to use. Right? So out of those who play sports, what is the conditional relative frequency that they are a girl? So out of all those who play sports, right, which is this row, so we're only using numbers from this column. So out of all those that play sports, how many are girls? Well, 5 of those 15 are girls, right? Which simplifies to 1/3, which represents 33% of the total number of people who play sports are girls. All right, so that's a conditional relative frequency. Next, let's look at our next problem. So this time it says out of all the boys. So go to boys, go to the boys subtotal. We go boys, subtotal is 21. All right? So out of all the boys, so we know our new denominator is going to be 21. Out of all the boys, what is the conditional relative frequency that they study? Okay, so because we're looking at boys, we're only going to use the boys row. So out of this 21 total boys, how many studied? Well, 4 out of the 21 studied. So it would be fair to say that that 19.05% of all the boys study full-time rather than play sports or have a part-time job. All right, guys, so as always, I will be uploading some extra videos if you guys need a little more time or need to hear this in a different way or just see some more examples. I will have some additional videos for you to watch. After you complete this and you're feeling good about it, go to step 2 under today and you will see a link to a quizzes. I know you guys love quizzes, so go in there, complete it as many times as you want. As always, unlimited attempts. The only thing I ask is that you use a name to where I can identify you to assign you a grade. All right? And if you have any making up to do from digital learning days earlier this week, please get those to me as soon as you can. And if you guys have any questions at all, please reach out to me via email, texting, or right here on the eClass page. So look forward to seeing you guys again soon and seeing how you guys do on this quiz today, all right? So do your best and have a good one.